All right, so we're back for, I think, the second to last. I think this is the penultimate episode from MobLand, if I recall correctly. Why don't you start us off?
I don't remember much of what happened except the very ending. Oh yeah, and Maeve threatening Harry's daughter. Uh, I mean, this was compared to the three episodes before. This was kind of a sleeper.
Yeah, I would say they were, you say, not wrapping things up, but yes, it was a slower episode, and it was more so, I would say, taking care of some loose ends that were going on. Because yeah, I don't recall a whole lot that happened either. I mean, there were a few big things, broad themes that we could talk about individually. So, for example, we have Harry. I think it was identified, for example, that Maeve is the snitch. Or I mean, maybe it hasn't been 100% verified, but remember, well, anyway, we can come back to that. So Maeve is most likely the snitch. The Harrigans do get arrested there at the end. Maeve and Conrad, the police, break in on that. Uh, we had the police informant invited to dinner, and she was there, kind of afterward, and that was established that she's working for the police and everything. There was Serafina getting threatened by Maeve, and then Kevin's big confrontation with his abuser from
Rugsby,
juvie.
yeah.
Yeah. So those were kind of, I think, the broad themes of the show. And honestly, I can't even remember in what order a lot of it was happening. I would say the main plot for this episode was Kevin confronting his abuser, and I actually liked I liked the ending of that quite well. I thought they did a good job actually with the entire buildup. So maybe we can start with that in terms of kind of where it was going. So in the past few episodes, remember Harry had gone to that old folks living home, recognized one of the guys there as being their juvenile guard, told Kevin about it, asked him if he remembered. Kevin said that he didn't, although he did. He was abused by him, raped by him, and Kevin got in a fight, I believe, maybe not with his wife, but I think he's just been frustrated overall with his whole family, and seemingly wants to kind of take it out, not only for that reason, but also obviously for past reasons, take it out on his guard. So he goes to the old folks living home, basically figures out how to get this guy, and he pretends to be an Uber driver, gets the guy in his car, goes to the guy's house, and then confronts him about the whole thing.
Yep. Now, when when he didn't kill the old guy, I was really overwhelmed. I was like, wow. I mean, what kind of forgiveness does this man have in him that he can confront this guy, uh, see how piss poor his life went, and then not follow through.
Yeah, I was kind of in the same
And
boat.
then the dumb bastard comes back. I mean,
Yeah. So yeah, that was where it was fascinating because on the one hand, we know Kevin has no qualms about killing, right? So it wasn't as if this was like a frightening thing for him about killing another man or anything like that. No, he's killed. He has no problem with that. So I thought it was a little interesting, that whole aspect of him confronting him, and what was going on and everything. And I don't, it's hard to tell what could have been going through his head, but I thought the same. On the one hand, I really wanted him to kill the guy, but I also was able to, comprehend maybe for some reason why he just didn't go through with it. Ultimately, as I'm talking, I would say I don't think that, as much as I think he hates the guy and everything like that, I don't think his reason for being there at the moment was necessarily him. I feel like it was the family stuff. So maybe that was why he kind of held off. And anyway, yeah, tells the guy to leave basically. And the guy comes back, and I really appreciate that it wasn't some long drawn out thing. Kevin just looked at him and like he was the dumbest person on the planet and put a bullet in his head, because that was beautiful. I mean, like, and I think that that's what it was. I think, even as I'm saying it and replaying the scene in my head, it seems like Kevin was thinking through a million other things, the stuff with his wife, the whole thing about his son Eddie, or maybe his son Eddie, his dad, everything that's going on with the law, all these types of things. So he's kind of in a different world in the moment. And then this guy who abused him in the past, is there seemingly wanting to comfort him in some way, shape, or form, or whatever. He's just looking at him like, what? And then shoots him. I really did appreciate how quickly that scene ended, or how that ended. Yes. Do you have any other takeaways on that one?
Not really. I was completely bowled over by his seeming compassion and hesitancy and all that, and then just lost it with the humor of the guy coming back and him shooting him in the head. Yeah. And I will note that we had talked about this when Harry first brought him up. Kevin said he didn't remember him, and Kevin addressed that in the talk with the guy. He said, I'd forgotten about you too. I'd completely wiped it out of my memory until Harry brought you up. And now, of course, can't get you out of my memory, but
right. Generally speaking, I mean, out of sight, out of mind. You had to move on. It is what it is. So he, probably for the most part, unless something very specific related to that would come up, he wouldn't be thinking about it. And then it did. I'm curious if Harry knew about the rape and everything, knew about the abuse that occurred. Because had it happened to Harry as well, I'd imagine that Harry would have killed the guy probably a long time ago, to be honest, but definitely after seeing him and finding him, or at the very least, assisting Kevin in doing so, something of the sort. So it seems like he may not have known, or he might have an inclination. I don't know, but it's neither here nor there. Some of the other stuff. So we talked a little bit. What we had Serafina, and so this, I mean, I guess it all kind of flows together because Conrad wanted to invite the undercover, informant, the confidential informant or whatever, over for dinner. Granted, he wasn't necessarily sure about her, wanting to learn more. I don't know how much he knows and didn't know, what have you. And she ends up coming over and everything. I don't know if there was, again, kind of everything in this episode, it all kind of blended together. There wasn't a whole lot of little pinpoint things here and there. Did you have anything on any of that or any specifics in the episode? Because honestly, I guess I don't really have a whole lot to say on this one.
My only thought was I think Conrad was thinking with his penis again, inviting Jan over. That's the undercover cop's name, right? Jan.
I thought Jan. What's Harry's wife's name? I thought that's Jan. Her real name's Nicola, because the little creepy guy who had set up the two cops previously and is working with Stevenson, he called her Nicola, and she asked him how he knew her name, and he was telling her how he knows everything.
Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. It worked out well for the plot of the series, because she needed to steal something with Conrad's fingerprints and DNA on it, so that they could plan it and blame him for some other murder that he did not commit.
Right.
That was evident. But as far as why Conrad invited her over, I don't understand why a criminal organization that has their kind of contacts don't vet people anyway. They didn't need to invite her to the house to find out who and what she was, and so that that leaves you with the thought that his motivation was to get her in bed.
Yeah, and it's not like they're going to find out anything by inviting her over anyway through just asking, "Hey, you work for the police?" I mean, what is she going to say, right? So, I think maybe a part of it could be that he's trying to get her in bed, but I don't know. It seemed more to me that he was suspicious to some degree. Maybe it was due to the fact that he's suspicious of Harry's wife, and here's this new woman, and Paul found them, together, and maybe had reported some stuff. So I don't know. I think that could have been some of it. I will
Well, it had to
say,
be some of it because he had Serafina start questioning her.
right, and yeah. So I mean, they ultimately she ends up being able to get out of the house with some of Conrad's stuff prior to them getting arrested. As we're talking about this, I'm remembering some more stuff that occurred in this episode, including two big things. One, I think I misspoke at the beginning of this, saying that we found out that Maeve's the snitch, so to speak. I think I'm incorrect on that to a degree. She's definitely. I mean, they addressed it in the episode that she 100%, snitched on. She told Stevenson where the kids were going to be, and that's how she got her own son killed. She blatantly told Serafina she was hoping that it was her. She was supposed to be the one to get killed. Some of that type of stuff. And in fact, I forget what the conversation Stevenson was having that he even brought that up, that he'd be able to rely on Maeve to some degree for whatever his plans were. I don't remember exactly what that was. But another big thing that occurred in the episode was the meeting with the cartel member. And
yeah, Hyman.
Yeah. So they were able to, I mean, it was kind of short, right? I mean, Conrad was being rude as Conrad will be. They now seemingly have a deal. What was it that Jaime? Oh, he wanted to know who the informant was, or he wanted them to take care of the snitch in their midst, right? The mole in
Yeah,
the
he
midst.
called Harry and told him that he had a rat in the house, and
Right.
if
Harry
he
said he
would take
knew.
care of the rat, they'd had a deal.
Right, and Harry said he would. Well, he said they had a deal. Is all he told Serafina. But then remember, after that, that's when he called the attorney there, the family attorney, to meet. And from the sound of that, she's probably the snitch, and she's about to get killed.
Well, I noticed that they played on all the main suspects. Because after that, they did a blip with Paul, and then they did that meeting with the attorney, and in both cases you're like, aha, maybe it was Paul. Aha, maybe it was the attorney. And of course everyone's thinking, yeah, but we all, we know it's Maeve, and hell, maybe they have more than one rat.
What did they do with Paul?
I forget what the scene was, but it was right after. It was during that little montage of people who might potentially be the rat, and he was one of the clips.
Oh, okay. I don't recall, but yeah, I think the attorney. We've talked about this in past episode discussions, and I just don't see how or why it would have been the attorney. Granted, I did say she was one of the only few who actually knew about. Was it Archie? The original guy who died, because Harry himself told her during their car ride what occurred. What's weird though is she was at the house when he was shot. So had she actually wanted the police to, come in and take down Conrad or investigate that, she more than knew enough about what happened that it actually occurred in the house, not just something happened to Archie, right?
Yeah, because Harry wasn't there.
Correct. So that's where I don't understand how or why it would be the attorney. Although, again, she was one of the only few I know that would have known about where Archie's body is, because again, that conversation occurred.
Yeah, she only knew it because Harry told her.
Right. But she was present at the house, and that was one of the discussions that they had about how they are not sure who it might be, because if the informant wanted to, bring down the Harrigans or cause troubles or whatever, why wouldn't they clearly weren't there and didn't know enough of the detail about what occurred that night, based on what the police had been told and all of that, which would have ruled her out because she was there, unless, something else is going on, or who knows, maybe they just didn't, she had some other thing going on in her mind. I don't know. But again, it's also would be super easy for her to take down that entire family. Are you kidding me? I love the fact that, like, whenever they're calling the Stevenson, she's like, and they're bragging and boasting about killing people and everything. She's like, God, I hope he's not recording this. It's like, yeah, you guys are some stupid criminals, man, in a lot of ways. But yeah, I don't know. I guess we'll see where this goes. I do agree. Who was it that said it? It wasn't. I don't think it was Serafina, but after they made the deal with the cartel, basically saying that they're in the big leagues now. Like, this might be a bit much. Maybe it was the attorney even, because I remember when Harry was talking to her, she was kind of making the same arguments that Archie had kind of made. Like, why do we want to get into this? This is like way bigger than what maybe we could handle or should be thinking about right now. I don't know.
Yeah, especially with the degradation of the top two in the family.
Right. Well, so I guess let's talk on that, because I don't think there was too much else from the episode. What do you think happens from here? So we've got Maeve and Conrad being taken into custody. Everybody else, for the time being, is not. Now, what they're charging them with, I have no idea.
Well, I think Conrad's going to be charged with that murder that he's being framed for.
Well, framed for and it's probably going to be on the two cops, right? That's probably where they're going to go. But for my question, I guess it's so hard because I don't know UK laws. I don't know other countries' laws and stuff. If you were to do that here in the States, theoretically or legally speaking, the cops should have a warrant. There should be an exact reason, like what they're getting arrested for, all of that. Whereas here, they just show up, bust in the door, take two people into custody. For what?
Did they just take Maeve and Conrad?
Yes.
Or did they also take Serafina and Eddie? Because the only one left at the table was Harry's wife.
She was the only one left at the table, but no, Harry was up in the upstairs room looking out the window. Serafina and Eddie and them, they were just standing outside watching their parents get arrested. And that was it.
Okay. They were just standing out there. Because Harry left the table, he wasn't at the table when they burst in.
Mm-hmm.
And my first thought was, I wonder where he hid. But yeah, they left so many people behind. That wouldn't happen.
He wasn't hiding. He was standing upstairs in the room that he had confronted the woman, Nicola, and was looking out the window at the police arresting everybody.
No. He confronted her downstairs. That was upstairs in Gina's room. That he was looking outside.
That's what I mean. He was okay. I'm saying he wasn't hiding, from what I could tell. I mean,
he wasn't hiding as the cops were leaving. He might have been hiding while the cops were there rounding people up. But that's so weird because, here in the U.S., if the cops had come, everybody there would have gone.
Maybe not gone. Everybody would have been detained. That's for damn sure. Right? Like, if I'm coming in to arrest you and you've got your whole family there, I can't arrest your whole family. I'm only there for you. But what I can do is, get your whole family outside on the ground, sitting there, so that, everybody's accounted for, just for the safety of, everybody. But they wouldn't bring everybody down to the station or anything. I mean, that quite literally would be illegal.
I don't know. It's a criminal organization.
But again, that would be charges then being brought against other family members. You can't just bring somebody in for being related to somebody who's a criminal.
Well,
Not even here in the States.
I mean, like in the United States, I'm sure that if that bust had gone down in the United States, there would have been a RICO charge, and the RICO would have taken in everybody in the family. Hence, that even Harry's wife would have been arrested.
That's my point. Yeah, they would have been arrested on charges of racketeering, though. That's still a charge. That's my point, though. And that's what's strange, particularly in this, is I don't know what they're being charged with. I don't think it ever said what they're being charged with. So that's kind of makes it difficult to understand where it might go moving forward. I guarantee we're going to have an opening scene in this final episode of their attorney, getting them out or whatever. Although, I'd be curious on that too. They always have this in these shows and movies and stuff that like the attorney's kind of a do-all attorney, fixer type of person, kind of like I forget Trump's attorney. But they do all the different types of law, right? Where this would be like criminal law, where you should really know. I mean, granted, you're going to understand basics and stuff, maybe, but it's if you've got a tort attorney versus someone who specializes in finances or international law or something like that, like you wouldn't want them representing you in a criminal case, is what I'm saying. So I bet they'll have her opening up, getting them out of potentially the booking or whatever. Again, I don't even know what they're being charged with, so I don't really know how that moves forward or what gets done. Yeah, kind of at a loss.
So what'd you think of Maeve threatening Gina?
Gina or Serafina? Who's Gina?
Gina. Harry's daughter, telling her to stay away from my precious little Eddie.
Oh, yeah. Telling her she was watching on CC. I don't know. I'm really hoping that maybe she just kills Maeve. I am so tired of that woman. My God. And then when she comes outside singing, I don't know. Who the hell knows? And I don't know what's going on with Eddie either. Although Eddie seems to be a little more concerned, right? Because he's the one who told Conrad about Maeve snitching and everything. You had that. He was, there in front of the dog cage talking to the dog, having a little bit of introspection or something potentially. I don't know what's going on in his head or what's going on with him. And I guess, Kevin's wife, Eddie's mother, she had that whole meeting too with her father. We still don't really understand what's going on there. They were doing another recording of the sit down with her father. You recall that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell is coming from any of that.
There was a Syrian, the Frenchman, her father, her, and some female, and then the Minister of the Interior or something like that?
Yeah. I don't recall what it was that she had threatened Paul with. I mean, she said, you work for me or whatever. She needed to get out of the house, basically. I don't recall what it was she threatened him with. But I don't know. One more thing to look at. Well, I mean, I think it's kind of hard, but any predictions here on what occurs in this final episode or where we're heading?
Well, now you got that Cat McAllister thing, so
yeah, and she's coming to London, she said.
Yeah, I think that Harry and Kevin were going to take over the family business, as it were, but this whole Cat McAllister thing may throw a wrench into that, or he may be a vassal king to Cat McAllister, whatever.
Yeah, I honestly, I have nothing to say whenever it comes to what's coming next. This last episode, honestly, just kind of confused a whole lot of stuff. So nothing too concrete. I can't make any guesses on anything now. Well, if we've got nothing else, guess we'll end it there, and we'll follow up here on this final episode later this week.
Okie dokie.